What do Jedis order at Chinese restaurants?
What do they order?
Pata wonton soup.
Hungry Squared, bringing you the best food talk anywhere.
Welcome to the Hungry Squared podcast, where the brain and belly meet. I'm Sharon from the Wasatch Cooking Guide.
And I'm Winter from theredparty.com. This week, we are talking about accidental food inventions.
Ooh.
It's going to be so fun. Let's talk about it.
Or Hungry Squared, yeah, Hungry Squared.
Sharon, how's your week been? Did you eat anything fun this week? Or bad? Or good?
Yeah, I ate something really good this week.
What'd you eat?
I had paleo spaghetti. So I used a meat sauce that was really yummy.
Okay.
I made a meat sauce.
Meat as in like ground beef? Are we
Yeah.
talking? Okay.
Yeah, just basic. And I used spaghetti squash instead of pasta.
Oh, so how does that work? Do you just, you baked it? How did you do that?
I microwaved the spaghetti
Oh, okay.
squash
Okay.
for about 10-ish minutes, about 5 minutes on each side. And I pierced it really good too. Otherwise it will blow up. Don't do that.
Oh.
That may have happened to me once.
Wait, you didn't cut this in half?
No.
You didn't?
No, you just, it's like a medium-sized spaghetti squash. Just,
Okay.
just the typical one that you would find in the store, not super big. And I pierced it probably 10, 12 times, popped it in the microwave, 5 minutes, turned it over, 5 minutes, and then you let it sit because it's super hot.
I'm sure it is boiling hot in there.
Yeah, and then you have to take it out with oven mitts
Mm-hmm.
and slice it in half and then dig it up.
Perfect. And that was it?
Yeah, that was
Meat
it.
sauce on top of that?
Yeah, I put kosher salt on top of the spaghetti squash because that's just yummy.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So really basic, actually. It was just that.
Super basic, but it was super good.
I bet it was. That does sound kind of good. That reminds me, we kind of need to talk about like people that use vegetables in place of pasta.
Yeah.
Like, is it that's a thing? The spiralizing is
Totally
a thing.
a thing. It's a thing with gluten-free friends.
Oh, yes.
And it's a thing with our like vegetarian friends.
Oh, yeah.
Eat more vegetables.
Yeah. Well,
but
we
anybody can do it.
I was like, we should probably do it because we need to eat more vegetables. At least I do anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
it was really good.
maybe that'll be a topic for a future time of hidden foods.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that whole meal was like so fast to get on the table.
Sweet.
So fast. It was awesome.
That's the way to do it.
What did you eat this week? Anything new or noteworthy?
Yes, I did. I was in Austin this last weekend.
Yeah.
So I was there for a conference and I went out to eat for breakfast one time. I kind of skipped out on one of the breakfasts that they provided as part of the conference because Austin's a cool city.
Yes.
They are a food city.
Yeah, they are.
And so we just kind of looked around what would be quick to go to and what was recommended just by doing a quick Google search. Right. It's not the best thing to do because it could.
Why not?
Well, I mean, I feel like there's times when you're like, they just put it on there because it's convenient and they maybe got like, hey, you should plug our restaurant or whatever.
Oh,
There's been a couple of times when I've been like,
You're kind of disappointed by the SEO.
yeah,
on
the
Google.
recommendation or whatever. So, but I did find an article that recommend this one particular breakfast place called the Forthright. It's just downtown Austin. So we walked there. It took about 3 minutes to get there. It was not far at all.
Nice.
And my go-to favorite of all time dishes ever for breakfast is Eggs Benedict, right?
Yes.
I mean, there's
good.
there's like all the everything good about it. There's the English muffin. There is a poached egg. Occasionally there is a little bit of meat of some sort on there.
Mm-hmm.
And then people get creative and they do fun stuff with it. And I just think it's wonderful. Just a lovely combination of things. So of course it's Austin. So they had a fried chicken eggs Benedict.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Did you get that?
I totally got that.
Yeah.
And
How
it was
it?
It was really good. Okay, so let me put a couple of things. So I really enjoyed it, and my friend that went with me, she enjoyed her dish. She got chicken and waffles.
Oh, yum.
So classic,
Standard.
right? I have never. I think this is the best fried chicken I've ever had before. It was like, I love a good crust, right? We've talked about this before.
How did they put the fried chicken on there?
So it was kind of almost like chicken strips. They made it in a size that wasn't so large.
So it's not like an egg on a chicken leg.
No. It was fried chicken, no bones, no nothing, that type of thing. It was kind of like chicken tenders,
Okay.
but the crust on it was, I just cannot describe. It was amazing. It
Yummy.
was so good. The only qualm I think I would have about it was the English muffin.
Oh, what was wrong with the English muffin?
So I'm kind of used to the English muffins that you can get in the store, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe that's what everybody else is using, but they're usually much airier. And this one was a denser English muffin.
It's the South, and so they're probably doing it like a biscuit.
Yeah, and I kind of figured that after, but I was not expecting that. Does that make sense? So it was kind of like, oh, this is not as light and fluffy and crusty.
Yeah, right.
So I loved it. In general, I loved it. That was the only thing, but that was maybe a personal preference. But once again, if you're down in Austin downtown, Forthright was great. It was delicious.
Nice.
And it was great ambience on the inside. They had a little patio that you can sit on. So yeah, next time you're in Austin, go check them out.
How was the weather?
Oh, lovely. I just want to point out though, it was the first day I was there. It was hot and humid.
Yeah.
And I should have gone to see the bats that day that come out from Congress Bridge.
Yes.
But I didn't. I went the second night when it was cool and like 75 degrees and no humidity. And the bats didn't come out.
Do the bats only come out when it's humid?
I don't know what the deal is, but I've heard, because I've been to Austin twice and I have still not seen the bats, because both the times I've gone to the bridge, it has been quite cool and lovely. Like you're like, this is a perfect summer night.
They're swamp bats.
Yeah, I think they need the heat.
Okay.
If anybody else knows, anybody that's from Austin, can you tell us what's going on? Because I don't know. I really want to see the bats sometime.
Swamp bats.
Give me some tips, okay?
And now for the main course.
Okay, well, let's get down to our first topic at hand. Accidental food inventions.
Yes, this actually was a request by one of our listeners, Kira. So Kira, thanks for writing in and asking us to talk about it. I think this is kind of a fun topic because there's a ton of history on how some of these foods get made.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I think it's so fun. So I get to talk about the first thing.
Which is?
Coca-Cola.
Yummy.
The beverage. I think everybody's heard the basic story of how Coca-Cola was invented. And it was because a gentleman, his name was John Pemberton, and they called him Doc, actually.
Doc Pemberton?
Yep. He was a former Confederate soldier, and he got hurt like a lot of people back in the day. And so he was addicted to morphine like a lot of people back in the day when they were hurt. So he was actually in search of a cure for his addiction. And so he started looking for kind of some cure-alls and that type of thing. I just want to point out also, he's a pharmacist. He was a pharmacist. He started to create something that was a little popular at the time. And he created a concoction that was made of wine, coca, like from the coca leaf, and also...
What's coca?
So we can talk about that in just a second.
Okay.
So
coca leaf.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the things that were in it. So he was trying to come up with this concoction that would help him wean him from his morphine addiction, right?
Okay.
And so he actually came up with this thing called Pemberton's French Wine Coca. And he touted it as a cure-all, a tonic cure-all. And unfortunately, the case, and this is, by the way, this was happening around 1886 that this happened.
So when I think about tonics back in that day, I think about those people that used to go in those caravans, like those
Uh-huh.
covered wagons, and then they do like a sideshow and you'd buy their magic stuff and their magic potion in a bottle.
It's going to cure your baldness and help you with your sexual impotency and other things.
And help you sleep.
And help you sleep at the same time. So, I mean, so that's kind of what it was touted as, this cure-all, a snake oil in a sense. So,
Excellent.
unfortunately, because poor Mr. Dr. Pemberton, I feel bad for him. His French wine Coca, he really needed to rethink things because alcohol was banned in Atlanta in 1886.
Oh,
so he had to take out the wine portion. So thankfully there was a couple of other people that were kind of helping him out and trying to figure out how to make this into something, right? We have a couple of guys, Willis Venable and Frank Mason Robinson, that kind of said, hey, okay, well, we can't have the wine in it, so we're going to take that out. They ended up replacing it with sugar. So it was a little bit sweeter.
Which is always good.
Yes, we love the sugar. And then they added a little citric acid because there's a little bit of bitterness replacing it. They needed something to counter that. So they put some citric acid in there. So that's kind of basically how it came about. So it wasn't even anything he was trying to invent it, right? He was trying to come up with something, but that it turned into a soft drink is kind of I think it's a fun invention. So you were asking what's in Coca-Cola, right? So nobody knows, right? Obviously what the secret ingredients.
I've heard.
Yeah. So let's really quickly talk about that because I think this is fun. So, so Coca-Cola, so the Coca part of the Coca-Cola is from the coca leaf. So, and yes, this is something in which you can extract an alkaloid called cocaine.
Oh, I knew it.
From the coca leaf. And it's just a simple acid base extraction. And of course, back in the day, way back in the day, people from in the Andes would chew the coca leaf for energy and hunger suppression and then that type of thing. So,
okay, so I'm raising my hand here.
yes, you are. Yes, Sharon, I choose you.
So is the coca leaf the same as cocaine?
So I should maybe back up because I think Coca-Cola says that they've never had anything like cocaine in Coca-Cola. But I feel like that there's some reports of older recipes that are out there because it took a little while before Coca-Cola was only owned by, like, the rights to that recipe were owned by just one person or one entity, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And there have been reports that there was up to 9 milligrams of cocaine in some of those recipes.
Oh, dang.
So
that's going to make you feel better from the morphine.
So now, however, let's just jump into some of the history, though, because as things kind of got passed along, recipes and rights to the different things. And if you get a chance to go read about a little bit more about this, is that there's actually kind of a little bit of a sad story, I think, with Dr. Pemberton and even his son, because his son got the rights to the name Coca-Cola, but Charlie passed away. His son passed away from a morphine addiction overdose, like 6 years after Doc Pemberton passed away. So
you should have drank more Coke.
Yeah.
That's too bad.
I know. It was kind of sad. I was like, oh, wah, wah. I think there has been some, but in 1903, they do say that it was completely removed. And a lot of the extracts that they get from the cocoa leaf now any of that is removed. And so there's none anymore.
Okay.
But I think a lot of the reports have said that there was cocaine in it at one point in time. It was just an alkaloid that was part of the extraction process when they were handling these coca leaves. So, and then the cola part of the Coca-Cola is from the cola nut, which has caffeine in it. And there's a couple of other compounds.
A cola nut?
There is a cola nut.
Oh, so that's a thing. It's not just like a drink.
Yep, exactly. So it's a cola nut. And so I think that's what differentiates what colas are, was that I think it has some of this cola nut or caffeine.
Okay.
Right? A couple of other fun things that I found out about Coca-Cola was that one of his partner, his bookkeeper, Frank Robinson, was the actual person that penned that very iconic design of this, like that script of Coca-Cola.
Oh, the script with like the wave.
Yes. And it is that's still used
Yeah.
today. I mean, in some form. So that's some nice design because it is standed the test of time. Everybody knows it. You can see a Coca-Cola, script, even if it's in a different language, and you're just like, that's Coca-Cola. You just know the brand.
Yeah, you totally know
the
that
brand
that's what
is
that
there.
is.
Mhm. And the other thing that I thought was really a fun design story was that when they were trying to design the bottle for it, they approached a company and said, hey, we need a bottle that if anybody touched it, they could know that it is a Coke bottle, even in the dark.
Ooh.
And you know the bottle, right? It's that contour bottle.
Yes. Yes.
And the person that had discovered it, I think he said that he got inspiration from the actual cola nut, like a pod, what the pod looks like. And he kind of drew inspiration from that. That was really fun to.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's some cool design. Like you gotta draw inspiration from everything. And so
I want to see a cola pod.
I can post a picture of that on the show notes because
Excellent.
they kind of look a little funny. Well, they're just it's a kind of a large, it looks like a large pod, but when you cut it open, it looks like a bug. I don't know how to describe it. It looks kind of weird to me.
Nice.
So I'll show it to you later.
Sweet.
So that's Coca-Cola. It wasn't necessarily supposed to be a soft drink. It was supposed to be a cure-all at one point in time, invented by a pharmacist.
Nice.
Woot woot.
And what's the best thing to have with a Coke?
What?
A sandwich.
Oh, yes, it is. Are you going to talk about sandwiches?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Let's talk about it.
So I have a love for sandwiches.
I do too.
I think a lot of people know that the modern concept of a sandwich goes back to the 18th century.
Yes.
Right?
I have heard this story, this basic story.
But the concept of sandwiches, of using bread as a base for food, like to put food on or to use it to scoop, goes much further back. In the Middle Ages, they used stale bread as kind of like a plate for food to be like, and the gravy and everything would soak into this piece of bread.
Okay.
And they called that a trencher.
A trencher. So just one piece of bread.
Yeah, it was like a slab of crusty, stale bread.
Okay.
They use these trenchers. Rich people would eat off of them, and beggars around their table would eat the trencher, or the regular peasants, if you will, because we're talking Middle Ages, right?
Right.
Would eat trenchers as well. There's also the matzah bread, which is like the flat and leavened bread.
Oh, okay.
That goes back way further.
Yes.
Like BC type
So they
of a
would
thing.
put something on one of those.
They'd use it to scoop a lot of times, to scoop food and kind of roll it in that a little bit. And so that was kind of a sandwich.
So it's kind of a convenience thing is what you're telling me.
Yeah, exactly. And the modern lore is that it came from John Montague, who was the 4th Earl of Sandwich. So he was an 18th century aristocrat. And it was a convenience food for him. Rumor has it that he was quite the card shark. And
really?
Yes. So there's a couple of schools of thought on that one. Like he has one biographer that painted this nice picture of him, who he was into politics and the Navy and the arts. And so most likely he ate sandwiches, quote unquote, at his desk.
So he could get stuff done.
Right. But a lot of other researchers say that he was a card shark
and was not putting his cards down.
He would ask his valet to get him some meat and put it between 2 pieces of bread and bring it to him so he could eat with one hand and play cards with the other, while his companions would be like eating off of like a plate with a knife and fork and some stuff like that.
Right. That's cumbersome.
So,
let's be honest.
Right. So after a while, people that he would play cards with started ordering the same as sandwich, capitalized, that's a proper noun,
same
sandwich.
Sandwich.
Like they'll have what he's having. Basically. So he was able to play cards and not get them greasy and messy and gross.
Oh my gosh, that's
but
awesome.
Still eat. What's really interesting that I found was as recent as 2006, a Boston court ruled about a sandwich.
What did they rule?
They ruled that a sandwich includes at least 2 slices of bread.
Oh.
And under this definition, it is not commonly understood to include burritos, tacos, and quesadillas. And that's actually a quote from part of their ruling.
Oh.
So that is, quote, a sandwich includes at least 2 slices of bread, and under this definition, it is not commonly understood to include burritos, tacos, and quesadillas.
It is definitely not a wrap. I mean, it needs to be bread, people.
And it goes on. But that stemmed from a lawsuit that this restaurant that sold mostly burritos wanted to join this shopping center that housed a sandwich shop. But the sandwich shop there had a contract with a non-compete clause.
Yeah. Okay.
And so they were really upset that this burrito place was coming in.
They're like, no, they're too similar.
But this court ruled that it is not similar, that a sandwich is not a burrito. Not the same thing.
They are not the same thing, people.
Yeah.
I think you'll be fine, sandwich people. You rock your sandwich thing, and the burrito people rock their burrito thing. And there you go.
And we can all be happy.
We can all be happy, and we can make money, because sometimes you feel like a burrito and sometimes you feel like a sandwich.
Exactly.
That's so funny. Just in 2006, huh?
Yeah. So like just 10 years ago, like they actually had to rule about what constitutes a sandwich.
That's funny.
Crazy. So that was an accidental food invention of necessity, I guess. Just playing cards.
Just bring it to me the way it needs to be.
You've got to have your convenience food. But there's a specific type of sandwich that I wanted to talk about.
Ooh, what?
That I found out about. So I was introduced to the sandwich, I don't know, years ago. So in college, I was going about my business one day and I was making lunch. I was probably making macaroni and cheese because I ate a lot of it back then.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
And my roommate, who she was an elementary ed major. I remember that about her. And she was this really fun girl, but I got really grossed out being in the kitchen with her one day because she made this sandwich.
What did she make?
Peanut butter and pickle.
Yeah,
let that sink in for a second.
Like, how does that work? Wait.
So she would get piece of bread, slather it with peanut butter.
Are we talking like smooth or crunchy or either? Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Either. Then she would put slices of pickle on top of that.
Okay, what kind of pickles are we talking about? Like dill?
She preferred
sweet?
bread and butter pickles.
Okay.
If you want to learn more about it, I found this great article published in the New York Times back in 2012, and it's called Peanut Butter Takes on an Unlikely Best Friend.
Oh my gosh. Are you serious?
Yes. And this guy waxes eloquent, actually, about peanut butter and pickle sandwiches and how it's good with sweet pickles. It's good with dill pickles.
I can
This
see
particular author, though, his favorite was a crunchy Clausen.
Really?
Yes.
I feel like there's a lot of salt going on if you just do a straight crunchy Clausen. I kind of like the sweet pickle action. I think I could do that.
Yeah.
Maybe. So wait, who invented it then? Is this a thing? What?
Well, it is a thing. So I didn't think it was a thing. I thought she was off her rocker nuts. But apparently this has been around since the Depression era.
Really?
Yes. And there's a deli in New York City that sells this sandwich, and they have nicknamed it the Pregnant Lady.
Oh my gosh.
Because it started when a pregnant woman asked for one.
No way.
She was 8 months. I mean, quite pregnant.
She was very
quite obviously pregnant. The owner was like, he's very obliging. So he's like, okay. He asked her what she wanted on it, and she just wanted peanut butter and pickle. And so he asked his staff to make 2, one for her and one for him.
Just to see.
And it's now a menu item.
Really?
Yeah, crazy. So that's more recent.
Okay.
That's more recent. But this is a Depression era food. And it intrigues me because I like to create this sense of abundance in my life.
Yes. I think everybody does.
Yeah, just to feel like I've got enough and to feel good about what I have and things like that. And so it intrigues me because, in the Depression era, they didn't have a lot.
Oh, yeah.
But to meet caloric needs and things like that, you had to get creative. As I was doing research, I found that the USDA had a Bureau of Home Economics.
That makes sense, actually.
They were running from the Bureau of Home Economics from 1923 to 1962. And their job was they studied the best ways to clean, sew, and purchase food and clothing.
Okay.
During the Depression, they also frequently published recipes in the newspapers and tell you like how to best utilize your food.
Right.
Like use casseroles so you don't throw anything away.
Right.
So that you're using
that totally
leftovers.
Makes sense. Yeah, totally makes sense.
So the peanut butter and pickle sandwich was kind of along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
And they published quite a few interesting recipes, such as cream spaghetti with carrots, baked onions stuffed with peanut butter.
What?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So wait, so this one was, the peanut butter pickle sandwich was
it started back then.
because they needed to make sure that they used what they had on hand, basically.
Yeah. And it had to be rather inexpensive.
Well, and I was going to say they probably had, pickling was more prevalent back then. They grew what they needed.
And you wanted to preserve.
And you could preserve it for the winter. So it's a vegetable.
Yes, I think I can.
Yeah,
right? The propaganda.
Yes, it's sunk in. Well, it's a little after that, I guess. But still, it's still the same idea is that it's a vegetable, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they need to get some sort of vegetable intake.
Yeah, you need some protein, some vegetable, something that's calorie dense a little bit. So yeah, apparently the best way to make a peanut butter and pickle sandwich is if you want to be really decadent about it, you toast the bread.
Okay.
You butter the bread.
Oh.
Then you peanut butter both sides and you stick some pickle slices in between.
In between. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a peanut butter blanket of pickles.
Mm-hmm.
I want to try it now.
Yeah. You'll have to let me know how that goes.
You haven't tried it? You
No,
haven't tried it?
I haven't. Okay, so I was really thinking about making one last night, but I was really full and I wasn't feeling that adventurous. I was like, well, I'm super full. What if I get sick? Because I just ate peanut butter and pickles.
I kind of think that, like, the more I think about it, I'm like, that might work.
Yeah, it takes some getting used to, I'm sure. I mean, just to wrap your head around, like, this is what you're going to eat.
Because peanuts have a distinct taste, and I think I can picture it with combining it with certain things, and it pairs well. But I'm like, generally, I put peanut butter on a lot of stuff because it kind of pairs well with a lot of stuff.
Sure. I mean, you eat peanut butter and celery, right? That's a vegetable.
Oh, yeah. But celery's kind of a...
So, well... And
Lee might...
Well, he hates celery.
He hates celery, so...
I think that's the only food he hates, right?
Yes.
That's the only one I know of.
He does not like celery.
Cucumber also kind of falls in that mild
watery
flavored category. Mm-hmm. I mean, it is distinct, but it is a milder flavor.
So a cucumber with peanut butter.
Right. So that's not too off, right? I mean, if you're going from celery to cucumber, I mean, this is like my line of logic here. This is my thinking. So then if you just pickle that cucumber, it's like extra flavor with your peanut butter. So it might work.
It might work.
I don't know.
I'm going to try it. I just want to see what it, like, I think I could actually make it this evening and see.
Okay.
We'll report back.
Okay. Return and report.
Okay.
Yes.
That sounds good. Oh my gosh. I personally think a sweeter pickle would work because then it would be like putting a banana on a peanut butter sandwich.
Well, and people eat peanut butter and honey, peanut butter banana.
Yeah.
That's totally in the ballpark.
But that's because I have a sweet tooth.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Speaking of a sweet tooth.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about the accidental invention of saccharin.
Oh.
Do you know what saccharin is?
Isn't it like NutraSweet?
Yeah, it's like, I think it's sweet and low is the...
Oh, so when you go to the diner and you get the pink packet, it says causes cancer in lab rats.
Yes. Okay, so we're going to get into that just a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit about this, but I thought the story was fascinating. Okay, so there was a fairly famous chemist that had a lab at Johns Hopkins University. His name is Ira Remsen. This is back in 1878, 1879. This was kind of when all of this went down. So there was kind of a visiting guy. His name is he's Russian, Konstantin Fallberg. And he was there just doing some work for another company in the lab of Professor Remsen. And so, because he was testing something for another company about a sugar that was held up at customs or something like that. He was testing something, and it just so happened that he was like, "Hey, do you want to stay on and just kind of do some research?" So he kind of stayed on in the lab to do some research on coal tar derivatives.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this has nothing to do with saccharin at all. So
okay.
But the best part about this, and it's a little horrifying to me actually, having done science experiments and been in the lab and that type of thing. But one day he was working on something and he went home to eat. And he picked up a roll. So this is the story that goes, and he was eating some food and he picked up the roll and he tasted the roll, and the roll was a lot sweeter than what it should be. He's like, "It's not the roll, but the roll is quite sweet. What's going on?"
Huh. Okay.
Turns out that he didn't wash his hands coming back from work.
Oh dear.
He took his work home literally
from the coal tar.
Not just from whatever. So he was like, "Oh, wait a second. There's something must have been on my hands that transferred to this roll to make it sweet. I wonder what it is.
Okay.
What did I work with?" And he doesn't remember. So he runs back to the lab, and as any good scientist, right? He starts tasting everything that's in the lab.
Oh dear. No, don't lick that.
He did.
Oh, hashtag don't lick that.
Oh. Okay, so and then what happens is that he had discovered that there was something that had boiled over that day, and the chemical name, and I guess there's a few other names that you can call it, but it's benzoic sulfonide. And it was a reaction that he had done earlier. And this Professor Remsen had done quite a bit of research on this particular compound. But Professor Remsen probably never thought to taste it, which as a scientist, I would never do anything like that. I'm pretty sure.
Really?
Well... Okay, I never say never, right? But I just...
Actually, I know what you work with on a day-to-day basis, and that will make you sick.
Yeah, so I was like, I just couldn't... That was so shocking. So he discovered this, and they published a paper. So Remsen and Fallberg published a paper saying that this is quite a bit sweeter. It's like 300 times sweeter than sugar and that type of thing. However, it just gets really like... soap opera-y.
And then what happened?
So what ended up happening was that they published this paper, but then Fallberg finds a different way to make it more efficiently and submits a patent to Germany and in the United States for this by himself. He does not include Remsen in it. I can kind of see both sides of the story, but like Remsen was ticked off.
For sure.
In fact, he has basically, when they asked him what he thought of him, he's like, "Fallberg is a scoundrel." I was like, yikes. But so Fallberg ran with this. He knew how to make it a little bit more efficiently and quicker and stuff. And so he set up shop in New York City, and it kind of was a hit because it was around World War I where sugar was being, there were restrictions. Yep, yeah. Exactly. There were
huge
restrictions. And so
then.
They made it in pill form and in powder form as well. People used it in everything. Doctors used it, prescribed it to people for corpulence, for being overweight.
Oh.
And because it's a sweetener, you can get your little sugar sweetener kick, and
without having sugar,
without having any sort of caloric intake because of it. So, because the book by John Updike, The Jungle,
yes,
came out, and so that, of course, huge uproar of safety of food, right?
Mhm.
How things were made and that type of thing. So there was a lot of pressure about saccharin. They're like, we don't know if this is safe for us. We're just ingesting this random thing that is very sweet and tasty. You know, Fahlberg did the best to try and prove the safety. He ingested a bunch of them and waited for 24 hours, and most of it was unmetabolized and came out in his urine. So when the Pure Food and Drug Act came out, because of some of these things, the chemist that was in charge in the Department of Agriculture, actually, Harvey Washington Willie, went up to Teddy Roosevelt and said, hey, you need to stop using the saccharin. Like, I don't think it's healthy for you. I don't think you should eat it. And Teddy Roosevelt, get this. He said, anyone who says saccharin is injurious to health is an idiot. He's like, Dr. Rixey gives it to me every day. So he could lose weight. And so it was just interesting to see how like this chemist was very concerned about it. But what the industry and what the demand was still like, nope, we're going to still use it.
The perception was that it was safe.
Yeah.
Because it was so widely used and people loved it.
It was sweet and it was wonderful. So as I kind of read through later reports on the safety, because they said causes cancer, and that's why they have to have that little, there was this period of time when that warning was on those little packages of sweet and low.
Yeah.
They ended up doing additional research and additional like gathering of data and looking at all together. And they have concluded that it is not deleterious to humans.
Really?
So they have taken that off, I believe, it's been moved down on the cancer causing.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I was a little surprised. So now I'm going to go look at the sweet and low packets next time I'm in a diner and see if it actually says it or not. But from reports, it says, I think it doesn't have to have it anymore.
Wow.
I want to say, wash your hands, people. Just do that.
Seriously. Don't take your work home with you. It's germy.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
But I thought that story was so interesting.
So our next accidental food invention comes from a surgeon.
Oh.
It's a surgeon by the name of Dr. Gerald Lanassa. I hope I'm saying that correctly because he's from Louisiana, and so he could totally have a different pronunciation of that.
Probably French or something.
He was really locally known in the deep south of Louisiana for using his scalpel to debone birds of his choice. He would make a 3-bird roast. Many of us know this 3-bird roast as turducken.
What?
Have you ever heard of a turducken?
Oh, yeah. I've heard of turducken before.
So
I want to try one.
It's a chicken stuffed in a duck, stuffed in a turkey.
So he intentionally put in that.
Yeah.
He did that?
Yeah, he intentionally did that. He would usually put some stuffing in between. I've seen it's really popular to do like cornbread stuffing in between the birds.
Mm-hmm.
He would use foie gras and andouille sausage.
Really?
I mean, I've never had foie gras. It's very cruel, but it's kind of tasty. But he would make these 3-bird roasts that became popularly known as turducken. And there's lots of variations. In England, they make a gooducken, which is a chicken and a duck and a goose.
Oh, okay.
Because they do the Christmas goose.
Right.
They do a gooducken. In France, in the 1800s, they were using a 3-bird roast of a quail and a chicken and a turkey.
So that was a thing forever?
It's been a thing for forever. Chef Paul Prudhomme, who is also Louisiana native chef, trademarked the name turducken in 1986.
Really?
Yes. So I have actually never had a turducken.
Okay, wait. He licensed the name?
Yeah, for sure.
Does he own a company in which to purchase said turducken, the turducken with the registered little
Chef
circle
Paul
thing?
Prudhomme,
Really?
He had a whole line of seasonings. I think you can still buy them actually.
Oh, dang.
Because I just saw some. I remember in recent memory. I haven't actually gone out and looked for them, but recent memory I've seen them in grocery stores. But he also had like a line of frozen food and stuff, and you can buy frozen turduckens.
This is a little bit side note. I'll let you get back to your story in a second. How do you prepare that? Is it the same way as a turkey?
pretty much.
Let it
I've
thaw
never
in the
had a
fridge.
turducken. My family's tradition, what I was going to say, is another Southern favorite, which was the Cajun fried turkey.
That sounds
Which
delightful.
Is a recent food invention that started appearing in the 70s.
Okay.
And what it is, it's injected with butter and Cajun spices.
Oh,
And then,
hello.
so crawfish boils are
Yeah.
quite popular in the South.
So fun. So
And
fun.
you get these giant pots that sit on a single burner
Oh, yeah.
outdoor stove.
They are ginormous.
And so people started thinking like, hey, we have another use for this giant pot and we will boil oil. And so they put a turkey on a thing that looks like almost like a hanger.
Mm.
And so the triangular part is at the top as a handle and it goes into the bird and then you dip it in for like, I don't know, 5 minutes or something and pull it out. It's not very long, maybe 10 minutes.
Oh,
Just
really?
yeah, you put it in for a few minutes. I have to tell you, that is the best turkey, hands down, I've ever had in my life.
I bet it's pretty good. It probably is nice and crispy on the outside and very tender on the inside.
It totally is. Like the butter that it's injected with is just makes it super moist and it locks it in when you fry it. And the skin is like this perfect, it's like a glass texture.
That's what I'm talking about right there.
It's thin, but it's crispy and delicate and it snaps and breaks like glass. But that taste, you just can't beat it. But also, it's more like a once in a lifetime treat.
Oh, really?
Because it's a cardiologist's nightmare.
Oh,
Don't eat fried turkey
The butter,
on a
the
regular
fried.
basis. So yeah.
That's crazy.
So those are 2 Louisiana food inventions, one more recent than the other, but the perfect holiday meal.
Yeah.
Turducken and Cajun fried turkey.
That sounds delightful. I kind of want to try that Cajun fried turkey. Sharon, can I share one last thing?
Yes.
It's not an accidental food invention, but it affects food in many ways in
What
our
is
modern food eating. It's the invention of the microwave.
Yeah.
Have you heard of this before?
I have.
Okay. Well, I kind of want to clarify a couple of things. So I am sure everybody has heard that a guy was working at a lab and he was working with microwaves and a chocolate bar melted when he was working near this microwave machine thing. And he's like, why did it melt? Right? Is that basically the story you've heard?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm going to get into it just a smidgen more because I think it's so interesting on a few levels. So let me back up and tell you who this guy is because I think he sounds fun. He sounds like Lee's grandpa who loves to solve a problem.
Fun.
So this particular article I read, they interviewed the grandson of this gentleman and his name is Percy Spencer. So this engineer, his name is Percy Spencer, and his grandson said this about him. Gramps was loud, wanted to make everything happen at all times. The grandson's name is George Rod Spencer Jr. This is my favorite quote. I apologize for anybody gets offended by this, but he said, there were no challenges. Simply everything was a GD problem that needed to be solved. Everyone trusted him to do just that. I just kind of love his little story. So he grew up really poor in Maine and he didn't have any schooling. He was really a smart kid. He worked at the mills. At 12, he got a job at a spool mill. At 14, he was hired to install electricity at a different paper mill. And then a few years later, he kind of heard about, the Titanic radio operators and how they got help as quickly as they could.
Right.
He was inspired, so he joined the Navy. And he learned the new technology that was up and coming because of the government. And so he actually, Spencer said he would stand there and while he was on watch, he would read textbooks. He would get these textbooks and learn from them while he was standing guard just by himself and everything. And I thought that was pretty darn awesome. So he landed a job after World War I at an appliance company, the American Appliance Company. And he was really quite valuable there. They loved him. He was very smart. He was a problem solver. He's going to figure it out. So he was working on these kind of magnetrons. It's a radar magnetron and it's like almost like an electric whistle is how they describe it. And so instead of creating vibrating sound, they're creating vibrating electromagnetic waves. If anybody is an engineer, you may understand that a little bit better than I do. And so this is happening in 1946 when Spencer was testing one of his magnetrons and he stuck his hand in his pocket preparing to go on to lunch break. And he was shocked to find that his peanut cluster bar had melted, not a chocolate bar. And he said it was a gooey, sticky mess. Okay, so
a peanut butter
a
cluster?
peanut cluster bar. And it's funny because Rod, the grandson, he says, I want to just make sure everybody knows that it's not a chocolate bar. It was a peanut cluster bar because chocolate melts
thicker.
Chocolate melts way lower temperature.
Right. If this was just a straight Hershey bar, I mean, just by being in his pocket, it
will
melt.
Exactly. I kind of thought the same thing. I was like, well, why would he have noticed that if it was a chocolate bar? Because that would be so easy with just your body temperature. And so I thought, why did he have a peanut cluster bar? Like, was that a thing? Apparently what he would do, according to his grandson, was that he grew up in Maine and he loved the outdoors. He would take these peanut cluster bars and during his lunch, he would actually feed the squirrels and chipmunks with this peanut cluster bar. And
oh my gosh, that's like the sweetest thing ever.
I know, right? And so he said that like when he put his hand in his pocket, he said it was a gooey, sticky mess. And so he knew there was something going on with this technology he was working with.
Mm-hmm.
And so as we know, they went on to develop it. And the first one was large and bulky and very expensive. But as you go on, there are millions that are sold.
Oh yeah.
Millions of microwaves that are sold. So
my favorite one, once I saw one in a house that my friend rented. And it was an older home and the microwave was built into the wall in the hallway.
In the hallway?
Yes. What? This was like a microwave probably from the late 60s, early 70s or something like that.
Oh my gosh, that is so...
It's huge. It looks like a TV console or something, but it's the microwave and it still works.
Oh, dang. So I just thought that was a fun story that, he's an engineer and he's inventing things, but this wouldn't happen to change the food, how we eat food.
Totally did. It changed how we cook food.
Yeah.
I mean,
convenience
think of
food.
How if you're a stay-at-home mom or any parent, and you don't have a microwave, it's like your kids can't fend for themselves if you don't have one.
Yeah. I just thought that was a fun one to kind of finish out our accidental food inventions.
Awesome.
So, was that fun?
That's awesome.
I so enjoyed this one.
Me too. Let's have a food fight.
Food fight, food fight, food fight, food fight. It's winter.
This is the segment where you can email us with your relationship questions relating to food. You can email us at hungrysquared@gmail.com.
Disclaimer, we are in no way professional relationship experts, but you should totally listen to us anyway. If you need professional help, please seek it out.
Food fight, the food fight segment of the show. Here we go.
Winter, where's this week's question from?
When I pre-read this, I was like, ooh, I don't have an answer for this.
Sock it to me.
Okay.
Let's see. Let's hear it.
Hey, Winter and Sharon. Love the show, first of all. Oh, thanks.
Thank you.
They continue. Recently, I've been battling a problem at work with smells, specifically fish in the break room. Yeah. At least once a week, someone has brought fish for lunch and stunk up the break room, and it lingers. I think I know who the culprit is, too. What can I do to address the problem with this person? Yours, gas mask on the third floor.
Oh, dang.
See, that's when okay, because I've had that. Everybody's run into this, right?
Oh, sure. Every day at my work, 3 p.m. rolls around and it's burnt popcorn.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's all over the floor.
And
like the smell is all over the floor.
Yeah,
not just in the break room. Ugh.
So what would you do?
I don't know. I mean, I've been in work situations where there have been some people that have been free and plentiful with their passive aggressive notes in the break room and in public areas.
Yeah, that could be a thing. And those are sort of funny.
Oh, it's entertaining as heck, but it's awkward. Yeah. It is real awkward, especially when you're laughing at the note and the person who wrote the note comes in. And then you have to explain why you were it's awkward.
So I don't know if I would approach the person. I don't think I'm gutsy enough to do that. And you know what? They might think that my whatever I'm heating up stinks to high heaven too. I'm kind of
That's true.
I'm kind of a coward, actually. I don't like all that confrontation.
Yeah, I am the antithesis. I am the opposite of confrontational.
And the passive aggressive notes, though as funny as they can be, and gosh, they are funny. There's some stuff out there that you can look up on the internet about people being passive aggressive in the office.
I love the one where the guy ate the sandwich and then like he keeps writing the notes back to the passive aggressive note writer.
Yeah.
And he's like, and now I ate this.
Yeah.
I took another bite.
Yeah.
It's great.
I don't know. I have a tough time answering this one. I guess if it's bad, you could bring it up with management.
Yeah, that's an option. And just, I know when things have been generally awkward in my workspace and when I've noticed that it has affected other people. Certain like offensive conversations, for instance. Okay, this is an offensive smell, so it's not the exact same thing, but highly offensive conversations. Highly offensive. Like religion, like
being bashing or whatever.
Bashing on somebody's religion where it's obvious that a person amongst you is especially of that religion or race.
Yeah.
Like that's been an issue before. So I've brought that up to HR before and I have had no problem doing that.
Yeah.
And it's been addressed and that's been really good. I don't know. I think with an offensive smell, especially when it lingers and it's a shared space, like that's really hard. I think if approaching just like your general coworkers, if you could do that, like if you've got
a good relationship.
Yeah. If you have a good relationship just with a group, I think you could just generally bring it up at staff meeting and you don't even have to say like, Winter is cooking fish in the microwave and that is terrible. But you can just say, hey, I've noticed some smells coming from our break room and I know that it's not just one person, so nobody feels isolated.
That's good.
And I think you could just kind of generally bring it up to the group and say, hey, everybody, can't we all get along? Let's have some Lysol in the break room and maybe spray that. Like, one of those like air fresheners that doesn't really freshen the air, but it takes the stink out of the air.
Yeah, a little Febreze action.
Something like that.
Okay.
Or ask maybe your admin to see if she'll stock that. And then maybe you don't even have to bring it up to the group.
Yeah. So
those could be some options.
An issue.
But I think if you bring it up to the group in a friendly way and just kind of get everybody's buy-in on that, that could be an option.
I think that might be the best option because I feel like if you're noticing the stink.
Oh, everybody else
is. And it might just be, not to point fingers. I mean, that's kind of the key is to maybe get somebody in on it. Like, hey, I'm going to bring this up. I know it's not you, but would you mind just kind of making it feel like, oh yeah, I'm guilty of doing the said thing to create a weird smell so that whoever knows that they're the one burning the popcorn or bringing the fish doesn't feel
horribly awkward.
Yeah. Like everybody's pointing at them. So, cause they're going to feel bad and they may not feel comfortable like bringing any of their food. And that kind of sucks.
Right. Because you don't want to discourage that. That's part of the great thing about having a break room where you work is that you don't have to go and purchase your food at a cafeteria.
Yeah. You're saving money. You're eating probably healthier.
Sure.
I was also thinking that, the break room is nice and everything. It's a nice place to sit, but and I realize that you can't do this all year round if you live in a place that has seasons, but you can also go outside.
Yeah. Take your lunch outside. Yeah. Change the pace.
Yeah. You need to be in nature. So even if it's just not in your office, that's sometimes good. So.
Yeah. If you're dry heaving over your food in the break room, don't do that. Like go somewhere else.
Yeah. And I think that should be fine. Unless you're chained to your desk or something like that. Sad. Maybe you should not be in that job.
Sad for you. Maybe you should bring that up with your boss instead. Oh.
I don't think I should be chained to my desk anymore. And can I get a raise?
And I need some sunlight. Yeah. Go outside and get your vitamin D while you eat your sandwich.
Yeah. I think that's a pretty good plan.
Yeah. Bring it up with the group if it's super awkward and get buy-in from the group.
Yeah. Don't bring it up with them exactly because that might just be awkward.
Yeah. It might be awkward. And what if it's not that person? What if you're sure that it's that person and it's not that person?
Yeah. You're like, it's actually Sally who brings the stinky salmon.
Yeah, Stinky Sally and her salmon.
Might be that person.
Okay, well, good luck with that.
Yes.
And I hope we've given you some good pointers to go off of.
Yes, I really hope it works out.
Thanks for joining us today for our show. You can find us at hungrysquared.com, on iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play Music. And you can follow us on Instagram at Hungry Squared and on Facebook.
Come follow us. We do kind of fun stuff there occasionally. We do Facebook Live posts, and those are pretty entertaining, I think. So I think we might actually be starting something new in the next little bit. So we'll let you guys know on the Facebook.
Yeah, stay tuned.
Yay! Okay, well, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week for some more food nerdery.
Okay, love you. Bye.
Bye!
Hungry squared, yeah, hungry squared.